In this lesson, we're going to look at point-slope form of linear equations. And in this lesson, you should be able to tell me how to write an equation in point-slope form and how to graph an equation from point-slope form. So we've already talked about slope-intercept form of a linear equation. And I just want you to realize that there are other forms. We've also mentioned a standard form of a linear equation, and we'll be doing more with that later. But point-slope form is simply y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Point-slope form is a really quick, fast way to get an equation of linear data, and it also can be used to get to our other forms of our linear equations. And so what I want to point out is we still know the same. We still know that m represents slope. Whoops, not slope. And you'll notice that we have two y's. We have just a regular y and y1, and then an x and an x1. And so this time, in this formula, this format, you're going to see that the x1 and y1, that's where it represents any point. That's where we're going to plug in our point when we have our given numbers. Notice that we still can plug in numbers for this x and this y, but normally we're going to just literally leave it x and y. So let's look at an example. Let's say that I tell you that the slope is -6 and the line passes through the point 7, -4. Okay? It's really just as simple as taking the numbers and plugging it into our formula. So this is my x, this is my y, right? So we're going to say y minus -4, which is actually going to turn into a plus, right? Equals m, which is -6, times x minus 7. And it's simple as that. That is point-slope form. There's nothing else you need to do. Okay, let's look at another example. This is example 1. Here's example 2. Let's say that I give you 2 points. Okay, so with this, we don't know our slope, so the first thing we're going to have to do is find our slope. So m equals 12 minus 2 over 2 minus 7, so that would be 10 over -5, which is -2. Now, as far as what point do you use, it doesn't matter. You can use either point, so there are actually 2 possible equations that we could get for this. So if I use my first point, we would say y minus 2, because that's my y value, equals the slope, -2, times x minus 7. So this is one possible equation that you could write for this set of data. We could also use the second point. Y minus 12 equals -2 times x minus 2. And so here is the second possible equation. Both of those are in point-slope form. Both of them represent the same line. Now, I want to show you that these really do represent the same line. If I asked you to write the equation in point-slope form, that would be it. You would be done. You would only have to write one or the other. But I told you that we can also use point-slope form to put it in the other forms of the equation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take both equations and I'm going to simplify them, and we're going to put them in slope-intercept form so that you can really see that they're the same. So if I were going to put this in slope-intercept form, I would distribute over here on the right, and then I would add 2 so that I get y by itself, and so I get y equals -2x plus 16. Okay, let's check the one on the right. So same thing on the right. I'm going to distribute. Okay, and then I'm going to add 12 to both sides. And look, we get the exact, 12, exact same equation. Okay, so that's just showing, demonstrating to you that they really are the same equation. Okay, so the next thing, so it's as simple as that for slope-intercept form. Okay, the next thing I want you to be able to do is I want us to be able to look at point-slope form and graph it. And so in order to graph it, we need to identify the slope and the given point, because point-slope form gives us a point and the slope just by looking at it. Okay, so here's an example. Y minus 3 equals 1/2 times x plus 4. Let's start with the slope. So if we look at this, really easy, here is our slope, 1/2. Now, what's a little trickier is identifying the point. And so I want to remind you that our formula is subtraction. So if I put in a negative number, like we did right here, that actually turns into a plus. So we have to think the opposite sign. So for example, right here, we plugged in a 3. But right here, we plugged in a negative 4. Because x minus negative 4 is what gives me x plus 4. So our given point is negative 4, 3. And so now that we have a point and we have the slope, we can graph this. I know this isn't the y-intercept, but we can start graphing from any point that we're given. Okay? I could plot negative 4/3, and then from there I could move up 1, right 2, and draw a line. Okay, here's another example. Y plus 5 equals negative 2 times x minus 3. Okay, so really easy. The slope right here is negative 2. And let's think about these numbers. To make a positive 5, that means we plugged in a negative 5. To make minus 3, that means we plugged in a positive. So my coordinate would be 3, negative 5.